자, 대통령 오바마께서 Supreme Court nomination, 대법관의 임명에 대해서 설명을 하십니다.
Hi, everybody.
자, one of the most consequential. 자, 가장 중요한 일 중에 하나가
One of the most consequential responsibilities
our Constitution grants. 우리의 헌법이 부여한 책임 중 하나가 말이죠.
our Constitution grants a president is appointing
a Supreme Court justice. 대통령에게 부여한 책임이 바로 대법원 판사를 임명하는 것입니다.
Supreme Court justice. The men and women who sit
on the Supreme Court safeguard. 대법원에 앉아 복무하는 남자, 여자분들은 safeguard, 수호신입니다.
on the Supreme Court safeguard our rights.
Our rights, 우리 권리를 지켜주는.
They ensure that
ours is a system of laws. 자, 그분들은 우리의 제도가 바로 법에 의해서 지배되는 제도라는 것을 보장해 줍니다. Not of man, 인간에 의한 지배가 아니고요.
This is a system of laws, not of men. And they're given
the essential task of applying. 그리고 그들은 적용하는 아주 필수적인 일을 맡고 계십니다.
Essential task of applying the principles
written onto our finding documents. 우리의 국가를 설립한 문서에 쓰여진 원칙들을 적용하는 것이죠.
into our founding documents to the most
challenging questions of today. 오늘날 직면하고 있는 가장 도전적인 문제들에 대해서요.
of today. So this is a duty I take
very seriously. 따라서 이러한 의무를 저는 굉장히 심각하게 받아들입니다.
seriously. It requires
me to set aside 모든 일을 제쳐두고 short-term politics, 단기간의 정책은 일단 젖혀둘 것을 requires, 저에게 요구합니다.
short-term politics in order to maintain
a faith with our founders, 우리의 국가를 건국하신 건국의 아버지들, 이 가지신 신념을 유지시켜지기 위해서.
with our founders. And on Wednesday,
수요일 날, after weeks of consultations, 수주간의 협의를 통해서
weeks of consultations with
Republican, 공화당원, Democrats, 민주당원, and leaders across the country, 전국 방방곡곡의 지도자분들과 함께
Democrats and leaders across the country, I selected
a nominee. 저는 후보자를 선택했습니다. Whose unmatched experience, 그의 비교되지 않는 경험들,
nominee whose unmatched experience and integrity,
성실성, have earned him the respect and admiration. 그의 그런 존경심을 얻었고 그리고 칭찬을 얻었습니다.
have earned him the respect and admiration of both parties.
On both parties, 양당으로부터요. Chief Judge Merrick Garland. 판사는요.
Chief Judge Merrick Garland. Judge Garland grew up
in my hometown of Chicago. 가랜드 판사는 저의 고향 홈타운 시카고에 살았습니다.
My hometown of Chicago, with parents who taught him to work hard.
Parents who taught him to work hard and deal fairly. Work hard. 그의 부모님은 그에게 열심히 일하라고 and deal fairly. 공정하게 일처리를 하라고 가르쳤습니다. Taught.
And deal fairly. As a young lawyer,
젊은 법률가로서 he left a lucrative, 수지 맞는, 돈을 많이 주는 lucrative private firm, 개인 회사를 떠났습니다.
He left a lucrative private firm to
work for half as much in public service. 자, 공직을 수행하기 위해서
half as much in public service. Eventually he oversaw
the federal response. 결과적으로 그는 연방의 대처 상황을 점검했습니다.
Saw the federal response to the Oklahoma City
오클라호마 시티 보밍, 오클라호마 도시의 폭탄을요. Working side by side, 바로 곁에서 일을 하면서
bombing, working side by side with
first responders, 최초의 구조대원들과 victim, 희생자들과 and their families, 그들의 가족들과
responders, victims, and their families to bring justice
for an unspeakable crime. 말로 다 표현할 수 없는 범죄에 대해서 정의를 실현하기 위해서 justice.
Unspeakable crime. And everywhere he went during that investigation.
And everywhere he went, 그는 어디든지 갔습니다. During that investigation, 그러한 조사 동안에요.
He carried with
him in his briefcase. 그는 서류 가방을 항상 지니고 다녔습니다. The 프로그램을 가지고요.
Briefcase, the program from the
Memorial Service, 추도회에 with each of the victims, 각각의 희생자들과 함께
with each of the victims' names inside.
Names inside. 그 안에 이름들이 있었습니다.
For the last 19 years.
For the last 19 years, 지난 19년 동안 Judge Garland had served. 갈랜드 판사는 복무했습니다.
Judge Garland has served on what's known as
second highest court in the land. 이 나라에서 두 번째로 높은 법원에서요.
The second highest court in the land, the D.C. Circuit.
The D.C. Circuit Court, DC의 순회 법정에서요. Including the last 3 years as
3 years
as chief judge. 그다음 가장 높은 판사로서 지난 몇 년간을 근무하면서
chief judge. On the bench, he's shown a dedication.
On the bench, he's shown a dedication to protecting. 그는 지키기 위해서 헌신을 했습니다.
To protecting our basic rights.
Basic rights. 우리의 기본적인 권리를 지키기 위해서.
A conviction
that. 그다음에 확정 판결. Conviction. 확신. Powerful voices must not be allowed. 힘 있는 음성들이 주어져서는 안 된다고요.
Powerful voices must not be allowed to drown
out those of everyday Americans. 매일의 미국 사람들로부터 drawn out, 끄집어내는
those of everyday Americans. An understanding
that justice isn't simply. 자, 사법 정의라는 것은 단순하게
justice isn't simply
abstract legal theory, 추상적인 법률 이론이 아닙니다. It affects people's daily lives. 그것은 사람들의 매일의 삶에 영향을 끼칩니다.
It affects people's daily lives. And a spirit
of decency. 도덕적인 정신, 그리고 modesty, 겸손함, even-handedness, 그리고 굉장히 신속함.
Decency, modesty, and even-handedness in his work.
In his work, 그 일에서
Judge
Garland is admired for. 그는 Judge Garland는 칭찬을 받아왔습니다. His courtesy, 그의 예의, his devotion, 그의 헌신.
Admired for his courtesy, his devotion to
family, 그의 가족들의, and his civic-mindedness, 그의 공익적인 자세, 마음.
And his civic-mindedness. For the past
18 years, 지난 18년 동안 he served as a tutor for young
students
at local DC elementary school. 자, 지방의 초등학교 학생들을 위한 하나의 모범적인 지도자로 일해왔습니다.
At a local DC elementary school.
During my time as president, 제가 대통령으로 있는 시간 동안에 through the 이러한 각각의
President through 3 separate
Supreme Court appointments, 대법관 지명을 통해서 in conversation with, 대화를 통해서
in conversations with
Republican and Democrats alike, 공화당과 민주당은 똑같이 one name came up, 한 이름이 떠올랐습니다.
Democrats alike. one name came up more than any other.
More than any other. 다른 어떤 사람보다도. 그 사람이 바로 메리 갈랜드입니다.
Merrick Garland. I understand that
I understand that we're in the middle of especially. 저는 잘 이해합니다. 특별히 우리는 지금 현재
in the middle of a especially noisy and
noisy and volatile. 소란하고 그 다음에 휘발성이 있는 불타는 political season. 정치적인 계절에 있다는 것을 잘 이해하고 있습니다.
volatile political season. But at a time,
하지만 때때로 when our politics are so polarized, 양극단, 양극화. 자, 우리의 정책이 너무나 양극단에 걸쳐 있다고 할지라도
our politics are so polarized. When
norms, 표준, 그 다음에 custom, 관습, political rhetoric, 우리의 정치적인 수사가
customs of our political rhetoric seem to be
corroding. 점점 옅어진다고 보일지라도 this is precisely the time. 지금이 바로 정확하게 그때입니다.
This is precisely the time we should
treat the appointment of Supreme Court Justice. 대법원 판사의 임명을 다루어야 됩니다.
the appointment of the Supreme Court Justice with the seriousness
it deserves. 당연하게 아주 신중하고 가치 있게 다뤄야 됩니다.
it deserves. Because our
Supreme Court is supposed to be above. 왜냐하면요, 우리의 대법관은
is supposed to be above politics.
Above politics, 바로 정치를 뛰어넘는 것입니다. Not an extension of politics, 정치의 연장이 아닙니다.
Not an extension of politics. And it should stay that.
And it should stay that way. 그런 식으로 계속 가야 됩니다.
So I ask Republicans
저는 공화당에 요청합니다. In the Senate, 상원에서 to give Judge Garland 판사에게
to give Judge Garland the respect
he has earned. 그가 이때까지 이루어왔던 존경심을 표해야 됩니다.
Give him a hearing.
Give him a hearing. 그에게 청문회를 열어주십시오. Give him a up or down vote. 찬성이냐 반대냐 투표할 기회를 그에게 주십시오.
Give him an up or down vote. To
deny it. 그것을 부정하는 것은 it would be an abdication of the Senate. 상원의 abdication, 직무유기입니다.
Be an abdication of the Senate's
constitutional duty, 헌법상의 의무.
Duty. It would
indicate. 그것이 암시하는 것은 process for nominating, 임명하는 절차.
A process for nominating and
confirming judges. 판사들을 확인하는 것. That is beyond repair. 그것은 고치는 것 그 이상입니다.
That is beyond repair.
It would make it increasingly impossible. 점차 그것은 불가능하게 될 것입니다.
Make it increasingly impossible for any president.
For any president, 어떠한 대통령에게도 Republican or Democrat, 공화당이든 민주당이든 to carry out, 수행하기 위해서
Republican or Democrat, to carry out their
constitutional function, 헌법적인 기능을
function, to go down that path,
그 길을 이끌어가는 것은 would jeopardize our system, 우리의 제도를 위험에 빠뜨리게 될 것입니다.
Would jeopardize our system of justice,
사법제도. It will hurt our democracy, 우리의 민주주의를 다치게 할 것입니다. And betray, 그리고 배신하는 것입니다.
It would hurt our democracy, and it would betray the vision of
our founding, 우리의 건국 정신을 배신하는 것입니다.
founding. I fulfilled
my constitutional duty. 저는 저의 헌법상의 권리를 이행했습니다.
My constitutional duty. Now it's time for
Now it's time. 이제는 senator, 상원 의원들이 to do theirs. 그들의 일을 해야 할 때입니다.
senators to do theirs. I hope that
they take the time to reflect on. 저는 희망합니다. 그들이 되돌아볼 시간을 가지기를.
The time to reflect on the importance
of this process to our country. 우리나라의 process 이러한 절차의 importance, 중요성을 말이죠.
This process to our country. I hope that
they will act fairly. 저는 그들이 공정하게 행동할 것을 희망합니다.
They'll act fairly.
And I hope, 저는 희망합니다. They'll work in a bipartisan fashion. bipartisan, 초당적인, 정당의 이익을 벗어나는 거죠. 초당적인 방식으로 일해줄 것을 희망합니다.
Hope they'll work in a bipartisan fashion to confirm
Merrick Garland to Supreme Court. 메리 갈랜드를 대법원에 임명해 주실 것을, 확정해 주실 것을 confirm.
Garland to the Supreme Court. That's how we can uphold.
That's how we can uphold our pledge to liberty. 이것이 우리가 우리의 자유에 대한 맹세를 지키는 그러한 방식입니다.
Our pledge to liberty and justice for all. For our
Justice for all. 모든 사람들에게 정의를. For our time and for generation. 우리 시대를 위해서, 그 다음에 세대를 위해서.
time and for generations to come.
앞으로 다가올 세대. To come.
Thanks everybody.
Thanks everybody. 감사합니다 여러분.
And have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend. 즐거운 주말 보내시기 바랍니다. 자, 간결하면서도 매우 호소력 있는 오바마 대통령의 촉구, 상원에 대한 촉구 연설을 들으셨습니다. 처음부터 다시 오바마 대통령의 연설을 처음부터 끝까지 한번 들어보시겠습니다.
Hi everybody. One of the most consequential responsibilities our Constitution grants a president is appointing a Supreme Court justice. The men and women who sit on the Supreme Court safeguard our rights. They ensure that ours is a system of laws, not of men. And they're given the essential task of applying the principles written into our founding documents to the most challenging questions of today. So this is a duty I take very seriously. It requires me to set aside short-term politics in order to maintain faith with our founders. And on Wednesday, after weeks of consultations with Republicans, Democrats, and leaders across the country, I selected a nominee whose unmatched experience and integrity have earned him the respect and admiration of both parties, Chief Judge Merrick Garland. Judge Garland grew up in my hometown of Chicago, with parents who taught him to work hard and deal fairly. As a young lawyer, he left a lucrative private firm to work for half as much in public service. Eventually, he oversaw the federal response to the Oklahoma City bombing, working side by side with first responders, victims, and their families to bring justice for an unspeakable crime. And everywhere he went during that investigation, he carried with him in his briefcase the program from the memorial service with each of the victims' names inside. For the last 19 years, Judge Garland has served on what's known as the second highest court in the land, the D.C. Circuit Court, including the last 3 years as Chief Judge. On the bench, he's shown a dedication to protecting our basic rights, a conviction that powerful voices must not be allowed to drown out those of everyday Americans, an understanding that justice isn't simply abstract legal theory, it affects people's daily lives, and a spirit of decency, modesty, and even-handedness in his work. Judge Garland is admired for his courtesy, his devotion to family, and his civic-mindedness. For the past 18 years, he served as a tutor for young students at a local D.C. elementary school. During my time as president, through 3 separate Supreme Court appointments and conversations with Republicans and Democrats alike, one name came up more than any other: Merrick Garland. I understand that we're in the middle of an especially noisy and volatile political season, but at a time when our politics are so polarized, when norms and customs of our political rhetoric seem to be corroding, this is precisely the time we should treat the appointment of a Supreme Court justice with the seriousness it deserves. Because our Supreme Court is supposed to be above politics, not an extension of politics, and it should stay that way. So I ask Republicans in the Senate to give Judge Garland the respect he has earned. Give him a hearing. Give him an up or down vote. To deny it would be an abdication of the Senate's constitutional duty. It would indicate a process for nominating and confirming judges that is beyond repair. It would make it increasingly impossible for any president, Republican or Democrat, to carry out their constitutional function. To go down that path would jeopardize our system of justice, it would hurt our democracy, and it would betray the vision of our founding. I've fulfilled my constitutional duty. Now it's time for senators to do theirs. I hope that they take the time to reflect on the importance of this process to our country. I hope they'll act fairly, and I hope they'll work in a bipartisan fashion to confirm Merrick Garland to the Supreme Court. That's how we can uphold our pledge to liberty and justice for all, for our time and for generations to come. Thanks, everybody, and have a good weekend.
자, 다시 한번 호소를 잇는 대통령의 스피치를 따라서 한번 연습을 해 보겠습니다. 큰 소리로 자, 따라해 볼까요?
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
One of the most
consequential
responsibilities
our Constitution grants.
Our Constitution grants a president
President is appointing Supreme Court justice.
is appointing a Supreme Court justice. The men and women
The men and women who sit on the Supreme Court safeguard
sit on the Supreme Court safeguard our rights.
our rights.
They ensure that
They ensure that ours is a system of law, not of man.
ours is a system of laws, not of men. And they're given the
And they're given the essential task of applying
essential task of applying the
principles written into our founding documents
written into our founding documents to the most challenging
to the most challenging questions of today.
questions of today. So this is a duty I
So this is a duty I take very seriously.
take very seriously. It requires me to
It requires me to set aside short-term politics
set aside short-term politics in order to
maintain faith with our founders.
faith with our founders. And on Wednesday,
On a Wednesday, after weeks of consultations
after weeks of consultations with
Republicans, Democrats, and leaders across the country,
Democrats and leaders across the country, I selected
I selected a nominee whose unmatched experience
a nominee whose unmatched experience and integrity
have earned him the respect and admiration
have earned him the respect and admiration of both
parties. Chief Judge Merrick Garland.
Chief Judge Merrick Garland. Judge Garland
grew up in my hometown of Chicago.
Up in my hometown of Chicago with parents who taught
him to work hard and deal fairly.
As a young lawyer, he left
a lucrative private firm
to
work for half as much in public service.
Eventually,
he oversaw the federal response
to the
Oklahoma City bombing, working side by side
with first
responders, victims, and their families
to bring justice
for an unspeakable crime.
And everywhere
he went during that investigation,
he carried with him
in his briefcase the program from the memorial service with each of the victims'
names inside. For the last
19 years, Judge Garland has served on what's known as the second highest court in the land.
The second highest court in the land, the D.C. Circuit Court.
The D.C. Circuit Court, including the last
3 years
as Chief Judge.
On the bench,
he's shown a dedication to protecting
our basic rights. A
conviction that powerful voices must not be allowed
to
drown out those of everyday Americans.
An understanding
that justice isn't simply abstract legal theory. It affects people's daily lives.
and a spirit
of decency, modesty, and even-handedness
of decency, modesty, and even-handedness in his work. Judge Garland is
admired for his courtesy, his devotion
admired for his courtesy, his devotion to
family, and his civic-mindedness.
For the past 18 years,
he served as a tutor for young
students
at a local D.C. elementary school.
During my time
as president, through three separate
Supreme
Court appointments in conversations
with
Republican and Democrats alike, one name came up
One name came up more than any
other, Merrick Garland.
Merrick Garland. I understand
that we're in the middle of an especially
noisy and
volatile political season.
But at a time
when our politics are so polarized,
when norms
and customs of our political rhetoric
seem to be
corroding, this is precisely the time. We should treat the appointment of a Supreme Court justice
with the
seriousness it deserves.
Because
our Supreme Court is supposed to be above politics.
Not
an extension of politics.
And it should stay
that way.
So I ask
Republicans in the Senate to give Judge Garland
the
respect he has earned.
Give him a
hearing.
Give him
up or down vote.
To deny
it would be an abdication of the Senate.
Senate's
constitutional duty. It would indicate a process for nominating
and
confirming judges that is beyond repair. It would make it increasingly impossible
for any president,
Republican or Democrat, to carry out their constitutional function.
To go down
that path would jeopardize our system
of justice.
It will hurt our democracy and betray
It would betray the vision
of our founding.
I
fulfilled my constitutional duty.
Now it's time
for senators to do theirs.
I hope
that they take the time to reflect on
the
importance of this process to our country. I hope that they will act fairly. And I hope they will work in a bipartisan fashion. To confirm Merrick Garland to the Supreme Court.
That's how we can
uphold our pledge to liberty.
And justice for
all, for our time and for generations to come. Thanks, everybody.
And have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend.